this is Professor Kim Nelson with the Jewelry Design Department at FIT. Another tutorial on organic modeling. Want to show you, we've been talking about doing organic modeling with a top and sides approach. I'm going to show you an approach to doing a puffed heart, something that is notoriously difficult to achieve well in Rhino. Here's a basic drawing of a heart. I'm going to break this drawing down so that I have two rails that I can use to make a surface that I can then modify as the top part of this heart. But before I do that, I need to draw a front and side view of what I want. It's always wise to do. Easiest way to get an accurate construction line here would be to do a line tangent to two curves. And I can just mirror that, but might as well just come over here and do it this way. And then one to the right here. The same approach. And for a bottom construction line, I can just pull off the points of the heart. Okay. These will allow me to draw a top and side view of my, the end and side view of my heart. So I'm not going to go into detail. Don't have time, don't have the interest. I just want to give myself an idea. And for the size of that heart, I think I'm looking at an oval cross-section, something like that. I'll check that by copying it over. Rotating it into position. And then scaling it non-uniform. And yeah, I think that's nice. That's fine. Okay, so I will move that view into position and rotate it appropriately. And same thing here. Actually, I'll put this, I can just rotate it where it is. And then I'll project it to the top C-plane. Sorry, the front C-plane. Thinking and clicking at the same time here. Alright. Front C-plane, project. There. So, I have my front view and my side view. Okay. I'll add a little more information to that as I go along, but for now, that'll do. Go ahead and turn those views off. Want to copy this, paste it, and put it on my storage layer in case I need to get that exact pristine heart back later. And now I'm going to chop this up a bit. I want to take this curve as far as I can, but once I get much beyond here, if you can picture this extending, I start to come back into a point very quickly. So that's about as far as I can go. So I'm going to, actually I'll copy this again. I'm going to trim this off. And then I'll move this down to the point. And that's a pretty good position for the point. I'll trim the point off. I'm going to paste that drawing back in. going to extend by arc to point. Just something up this direction is fine. Going to rebuild this curve. I'd say 24 points would be fine. Mirror it over. I don't need this to go really much beyond the end of the heart. So I'll trim those off. There. Okay. This is the curve for my surface. Those are the curves for my surfacing work. Now I mentioned that I might need to do more in terms of the views. As a heart comes down to a point, you have a cleft here and a point here. These are really important to the nature of a heart. And wherever you have a point in a 3D model, in a view, you have a crease. This is going to be a puffed heart. I'd like to have as little creasing as possible. So when you think of a point in three-dimensional form, if you don't want to crease, you basically have to create a cone. Think of a stone pavilion, okay? Think of this as being the front view of a faceted stones pavilion here. Here would be your girdle, here would be your crown, okay? That would be your girdle, okay? That culet can come down to a nice point. If, however, this is an emerald cut stone, okay? So you have a lengthwise extension here. You can't have a point anymore. That's why emerald cuts have a linear culet at the bottom of them, like this. Okay? Okay, so for us to be able to come down to a natural point, we're going to want a circle or something very close to a circle as a cross-section on our heart here. So I will draw that now. Okay, so by the time I come down to the end of my heart, at this point I want to have a cross-section, something like that. Okay, I can have more of an oval, because as you know you can pull an oval cross-section also down to a point, but it can't be cushioned, it can't be squared at all. I'm going to go ahead and do a non-uniform scale of this, with a copy option being yes. If I make it like this, I'm not going to be able to pull to a point. It's going to be a crease. That would be about the most I could do in an oval that would not give me a crease at the bottom. So I'll leave both of those curves there as reference in my front view. And I'm ready now to surface. I don't need to do a bi-rail sweep in this case because these two flat curves side by side are going to give me straight sections no matter what I do. Like so. I want to rebuild that so that it's a good surface for me modifying, for me to sculpt with. Right now it has 18 going in this direction. I can tell because it's the larger number. It's certainly not the 4, it's the 18. 16 should be good. 7 across the top. Yeah, that's fine. 7 going this way. Always want an odd number so that I have a center line. 3 is a good degree of mathematics here in the surface. Like I said before, I prefer 4 for curves, but Rhino's standard of 3 for surfaces is fine. And that's the surface I'm going to sculpt with. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn off that green layer for a moment and start to sculpt. I'm going to begin in the front view. No real reason why, I'm just as easy as not. Going to move this piece up to the front view till it approximates that oval. I don't have to be precise. Turn on the points and begin to sculpt. I have this set up for point editing over here, so I do have my object snaps on top and my point selection and visibility toolbars below that, and my layers and properties panel below that. I'm going to go ahead and select everything but the center line here, and hit the wrong direction. It's always the first time to figure out which way Rhino's decided to throw these points. That way's fine. And I'm going to move down. Okay. First thing you're going to notice is that the whole surface pulls away from my curve. That's fine. I'm not concerned at this point with that. Going to grab the outside 2 rows of points. Do the same thing with them. And I'm just trying to keep my surface somewhat parallel to what's going on here. Last outside row by itself. Okay, I don't want to go crazy. This is fine. Okay. And now I'm going to bring some of the other point information up again. Mainly these center 3 rows. Just to get an outline that is pretty much consistent. I'm not being crazy about it. I'm just gesturing it in. Okay? So, I've created something that approximates that view from the front. Now, my right view is going to be hard to see. When I go into the right view, if I stay in point editing, it's fine. But if I go shaded, that curve is going to disappear. Since I know I'm viewing it from the right, I'm going to move this curve with grid snap out beyond my model so that it will, okay, other side, that's fine. I moved it the wrong direction. So that it remains visible to me. That's right, I'm looking from the right, so there. So it remains visible no matter what. Then I'll lock it and start manipulating control points from this side. Actually, I'll do one side at a time. This is the row that's already pretty much at the top. And I have 2 choices. I can either move these down, but I want to keep the bottom line straight. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to do non-uniform scale, always picking at the bottom point, or 0. Either one would be fine. I don't want grid snap anymore. I don't want copy yes anymore as an option, so I'm going to remove that right away. And it will take a few passes because remember what you're doing here, these points are magnets. The surface doesn't pass right through the points. So I'll come all the way through, approximate it from what I can see. and then come back and try and be more precise. And it really doesn't take very long. And now I'll do the other side. And it's the same thing, just non-uniform scale. In case you're not familiar, origin point is the place I don't want to change, so that would be the bottom point. I don't want to change in the X direction. It was already set to 1, which is Rhino for 100%, so I just hit enter to accept. And then Y I do want to change, so I click to let Rhino mark the scale it's at now. And I pull down and click again when it reaches what I want. Z is always, that's the direction coming straight towards me. That should always stay 1, which is Rhino's default right here. So if I hit enter, it'll just accept that 1 as the value again. So the method is basically click origin point, hit enter just so I accept the 100%, click to set the scale, and hit enter our last time to accept 100% in the Z axis direction. And obviously these two rows are beyond the end of that oval, so I'm not going to worry about getting them to match the oval. Just that I have a nice gradation as it comes down. Graduation, I should say. That's fine. Okay. Make any last minute adjustments. And what I've done is I've created a simple dome. Out of that surface. Now I do want to check at the end here and see that this has retained a simple oval shape. It should have. Oh, interesting, I have two surfaces in the same place. That's because at one point I did that non-uniform scale with a copy option on. Alright, that's important because that means I'm going to have an inaccuracy in my... This won't have happened to you at home because you didn't have the copy option set on your non-uniform scale. I did, and it caused at one point for me to create a duplicate surface. Make sure that this surface is the one I want. That's fine. I want to come into that front view now. And the same way that I moved the right view curve out of my way so I could see it, I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to grab these 2 points. I have 2 curves, actually all 3, and move them down in front of the piece so that when I'm in the front viewport they remain visible to me. Okay. And I can see, okay, it's a little bit in between these two, which is fine. That's what I wanted to see. So that's good. That's good. Well, what I want to do now is bring back my original curve. I want to offset this because that's my top, but my top for one thing doesn't incorporate the full heart, and for another it isn't going to be my final sides of the piece. So I'm going to offset curve, and I want a good healthy offset. The thicker my offset, the softer my doming of my heart is going to be. When I start to get very bad distortion down here in the middle, I know I don't want that. So somewhere in this vicinity is good. I don't care for the quality here. I'm going to explode it, and I'm going to extend by arc to point to get myself something softer. I'm going to copy this first though, because I'm going to have another option I want to explore in a minute. So extend by arc to point, just anything that's nicer than that. Okay, it's not going to give me anything nicer right now, so I'm going to join those together and rebuild it. I'm going to rebuild that to like 14 points. Turn curvature graph on. Turn on points. I'm going to go ahead and let this soften up a little bit. I don't want to create a strange tightness in here, so I'm not going to let it get as pretty as it could have. To make it really pretty, I would swoop it, but that swooping would create a pinch in here that for surfacing is not a great idea. Remember, Rhino doesn't like tight spaces, so creating in that tight space would be a bad idea. But that's certainly prettier than the two curves I have here. Mirror it over and join them together. Okay, that's one option. The other option, I'm going to paste these back in, is to do a blend curve. Okay, and this will allow to alleviate some of the creasing in here. I don't care for the orientation of how that's working though, so I'm going to delete it. I'm going to use this curve instead. Copy that to clipboard, paste it in, and chop off the point. It'll look like I didn't do anything there because I have two layers. I have it in two places, on the pale blue and on the green. Adjustable curve blend. I'll just pull that down into a blunt point. Join that together. Either one of these is a valid way to approach this problem. Okay, so I have that. I'm going to bring back my surface. I'm going to take the curve with the point. Oh, they're locked. Didn't mean to. Now they're turned off. There we go. Take this curve. I'm going to project it with history onto the surface. Do not want to delete the input, because otherwise history won't follow. So I have that. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude straight down from the edge of this surface. And I'll extrude it well below the, I could have extruded them both at once. That would have been fine as well. I need, however, for the tops of these two surfaces to be even with the C-plane, because I'm going to flip this. I'm going to mirror it from side to side, up and down, to create the back side of the puffed heart. So to get those to the construction plane, I'm going to turn on the control points. I got an inaccurate read on those because it's still, these are extrusions, and in Rhino 5 you have to explode your extrusions to access the sub-object level of your surfaces, the control points. I'm going to select a point at the top of each one. Oh, take a guess as to which one works. That's the right one. Good. And project to C-plane. C enter, Y enter, using our class shortcuts. Okay. I am going to do match to pull this down and finish up the surface, but before I do, I want to lock in what I have here sculpturally. And to do that, I'm going to insert a knot. Edit menu, control point, insert knot. I want symmetrical, and I'm going to add a knot out here towards the side and a knot in towards the center, symmetrically. That gives this surface more control points so that it'll have less of an, remember how tangency works, class. Its tangency is going to move on a 3rd degree surface, it'll move 1 point away. Curvature will move 2 points away. Affect them. So it's already going to move this point down to match, and then it's going to take the second point and adjust it so that the smoothness, the tangency remains. That point will actually be exactly above this first point perpendicularly. So, and it can actually affect the third point over. I don't want anything to happen to this area. So by adding the extra points, I've locked this up so it can't be as easily distorted. Surface, edit tools, match. Okay. And there we go. I've set it to tangency. That's fine. I'm going to look and see how it affected the top. Very little, because I added those extra points in. Very good. Repeat the command. Okay. So I've now brought that into play. I'm going to turn on the points. Almost always you have to adjust the second row of points up. You can see how tight they are against the surface. That's pretty useless to us. And it's going to really mess with this staying connected to our oval cross section. So I'm going to bring it up. Going to grab the next set over. Going to move them up. Just adjusting because that match command does mess with things a little bit. Changes things. Next set of points in. And next set of points in. Looks good. Okay. Now I'm going to look at this end cross section, and you can see that it doesn't look great. So I'm going to grab those 2 points and bring them down. And remember, we discovered that it was about halfway in between there, so we're going to allow that to continue to be the case. I need that nice kind of oval, circular effect here on this cross section. I'm going to do it here as well. So that the points are radiating in a smooth way. And out here as well. You can see the isocurve wire. You want it to have a fairly rounded appearance. That looks good. Okay, so I have that. I'm going to copy this, paste it to my clipboard, put it on storage, paste it from my clipboard, I should say. So I have what I want. My next step is going to be to create the back side of the heart, which will require some special surfacing. So I'm going to come here and take a look. I believe that I want to cut it. Well, I've got to have that surface in place. I start to vary right here, so it can't go farther than that. I'm going to say here. And I'm actually going to explode this. Hide this for now. So I can take a curve perpendicular off the end here. I use the from first point option right here to get it to start by hitting F enter to get it to start directly from the end of my curve. I'll do that again because I should have spoken more. Line perpendicular from curve, start of line, the end here. That's why I got rid of the other curve, because it would have become confused as to which curve it was trying to look at. And now it wants me to pick where it starts from, where it ends, from wherever I click it ends. But I want it to go from its first point. Remember, you have to be in an orthographic view for this to work. You can't choose that option in perspective viewport. Okay. I'll put this curve back. I will mirror this over. And now we're ready. I'm going to split this surface with that center heart form. I'm going to trim it by making extrusions, both side option, from these curves, and then trim off. The extrusions. Okay? I'm going to extend the top here. Near snap. Till it grabs onto that surface, that line. Going to need to extend this a little bit out that way, so extend it by line. I'll just extend it all the way out. Project it onto here. And draw a line straight down from the end to project off. Going to trim off the end of this projected curve so I have everything I need to get a cross section. I'm going to be doing a swept surface for the side here. Remember, when you make your cross sections, what you're doing. I like to keep this fairly low to the bottom here if I'm looking for a very smooth rounded effect from the ground if I don't want a real strong sidewall or flatness. And I get the rest of my roundness or fullness by adjusting the other points. That's my first cross section. I already have my second cross section here. I need to split this curve. And I need to extrude it to match both sides off that curve. Okay, having done that, I can do my first test surface. Join these together and do my very first test sweep from Curve Network. Edge rail, edge rail, edge section, curve section. I should have tangency here, here, and here. So 3 out of 4 should give me tangency, which I have. And I'm going to look at what I've gotten. You'll notice right away that this is it comes off nicely here, but almost right away it begins to sink and get soft. That's not what I want. So, but it was expected. It doesn't surprise me at all. Turn on near snap. I'm going to make a construction plane here. Project. Grab an edge here, just like I was doing adding sections to a bi-rail sweep. Same thing. I want it perpendicular to both edges. Actually, I don't care for that one. Sorry. Cutting plane. Want a nice, strong, perpendicular feeling. There. So I have those two. Go ahead and get my intersecting curves. Pick a color I haven't been using that I'll see clearly. I've got to be careful, because if I intersect all of these separately, I'll get edges. So I'm going to join them together first, even though I know that at the end of the day it's not what I want. Rhino doesn't want to join that bottom edge, so I'll force it. Alright, just for the purpose of doing a intersection. And done. I'll hide these two, and I'll explode that solid extract surfaces. To get these back where they were. Okay. You can see how bad that cross section is. So I'm going to bring back that section that I used to make that with the cutting plane, set a C-plane to it, hide it again. And I'm going to do a blend curve from here to here. Actually, those are joined together. I don't want that. Explode it, and then do it again. And you can see the difference of what I'm getting. And I want something much more rounded and soft. Like that. Next section. Explode it. Unhide its cutting plane, set the C-plane to it, rehide the cutting plane. Adjustable blend curve. Same thing, I want a soft. Rounded section. Okay, that'll work. So, try to surface it again. Edge rail, edge rail, edge section, curve section, curve section, curve section. Now I only have tangency on two sides, and that doesn't make sense to me. So that means I selected that curve instead of that edge. Surfacing network of curves. Surface edge rail. Surface edge rail. Surface edge section. Curve section, curve section, curve section. It's important that you predict when you're doing this how many points of tangency you think you're going to have, so that if you don't get it, you can check. There's my 3. And that is a much more attractive surface. Okay. I'm going to mirror both of these over. Like so. And I'm going to trim them off of each other. And I really don't need the extrusions on the bottom. The extrusions on the bottom will not be part of the finished piece. So, okay. That isn't terrible, but you'll see that I have a very clear cleft there. If I join the top and bottom together, I do have that nice oval hole at the end. It's very soft. But there's that crease that I told you I would get. It ends abruptly here, but still, you have to decide if that's okay with you. If it's not, then we have to make some changes. So I will copy this to clipboard and undo. Go back a ways. Be going back quite a ways. paste it back in and put it in storage so we can look at it as a comparison later. So, to reduce that, I can project this curve instead. Oh, yeah. Project is C-plane dependent, class. Make sure you have the top C-plane if you want to project from the top C-plane. Okay. Otherwise, the process remains very much the same. Split the top, trim away the extrusions. And join back together. Okay, with this scenario, I will have a cross-section coming straight off the center. So, now, extract isocurve, and snap will catch right at the end here. And you need to have a curve running straight down. And a blend curve between the two. And once again, I'm going to bring it down quite low at the bottom so I can get a nice roundedness coming across. That's fine. I already know that I will have real trouble if I try and do this without additional cross sections, so I'm going to go ahead and set them up just as I did before. Near snap, project, cutting plane. Actually, do I have my old cutting planes in here? No, I don't. Good. Just don't want to get confused. So, cutting plane. Actually, it would be helpful to do my extrusion first, so I'm going to split that outline. Do that bottom extrusion. One side. Might as well make it the same length. There. And now, I'll go ahead and join these together, just so they're easy to select and work with. Okay. Cutting plane. Near snap, project. I want to capture the end here, and I want to capture here, and I want to get my intersections between these two, between these two, between these two, between these two. Hide those for now. Blend curve, adjustable blend curve. And there once again is that very steep slant, which I don't want. I'll bring that low. I'll bring that high. If I don't want object snap, I just hold down the Alt key. I'll tug that back. Bring that out. I like that. That's pretty good. There's actually a little bit of a sink there. I don't want it to swoop upward. Okay. Alright, and then the next section. Same general recipe, low here, fill in, take a look at what I have, and accept it. I can delete all the leading curves that I used to make my blends with. And the last thing I need to do is I need to split this edge because I'm going to end the lofted surface or the swept surface right here. Split edge. Right there. So, surface and curve network. Edge rail, right to where I split it. Edge section, curve section, curve section, curve section. Tangency on 3 sides. There's a little bit of a ripple there. That I'm not in love with, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, there's a definite buckling in the surface right there that I don't like. So, I'm going to copy these to clipboard and undo that edge splitting. Actually, I was afraid they would get deleted, so I copied them. I didn't need to. They're still there. Mirror them over. I'm going to sweep. Oh, I can't. Okay. Yes, I can. I'm just testing to see if it'll work for me. I'm going to use the curve instead of the surface edge. That won't give me tangency. Edge, rail, edge section, curve section, curve section, curve section, curve section, curve section, edge section. That'll have tangency on 2 fronts. Well, actually it gave me on 3. I'm not sure how. Oh, 1, 2, and 3. Okay. I got the same buckle, and I have less of a flow, so that's not acceptable to me. So I'm going to go back to how I did it before. My challenge is, class, that this is forcing too much, this cross section, so I'll try it without using that cross section. I have to split that edge again. I'm sorry. I undid the split. I gotta put it back in. I want to be able to use that surface edge if at all possible, which I can, so I get a good flow. Edge section, curve section. I'm going to skip this section that I made and go straight to the center. That is better. Mirror it over. Now, that should give me a very different effect from the last heart. Join these together. Mirror. Join together. EMAP. Okay. You still have a little bit of tension in the surface through here, but it's much softer than you would have gotten. From the other. And this ripple that we have right here is because I don't have that cross-section in place that would help it read better. And that's kind of a challenge that I would have to deal with, how I would resolve that through there. Because it is simply because as this came off of here, you can see the ripple right there. I want to end this video, but to solve that problem, here is what I would need to do. I would need to have a cross-section that comes off of here. I'll actually borrow one of the ISO curves. I actually like having a straight cross-section whenever I can, a planar cross-section. So actually I'm going to do a surface cutting plane. Just take the end of that, pull straight, delete that, and get an intersection here, intersection here, throw that away, and get a blend. This is the truth behind swept surfacing, guys, is that you have to play until you get what you want. Don't ever have grid snap on when you're trying to control handles or anything, really. It's too strong of a... And this is what I'm really watching. I want that to be very smooth coming off of there. That's fine. Hopefully that will have resolved the issue. And if not, I have to decide how much farther I'm willing to go, because that is something that would polish out very easily. Okay, one more try. Edge rail, edge rail, edge section, cross section, cross section, cross section. You have a little bit of buckling right here, but that's just to transition between smooth and creased. I don't believe that's avoidable or really objectionable. Okay. That's fine. So, the last thing to do with this surface is the point. Okay. So, methods that we have for surfacing this. We're going to extract the ISO curve. Here. I'll just mirror it over when I'm ready. Curve extend by arc to point without project on. Explode, because I only want the section, and mirror. And now to surface. We can try surface from curve network and see what we get. But our challenge here is going to be that it's going to be a a three-sided adventure. So, actually I need these to be split out, so before I do anything, borrow the join and join this, split these two curves, because I need cross-section information that goes, throw that away so I don't get confused, that goes through here. So I'm going to try I suspect it won't work, because I'm going to go to a sweep one rail. I'm exploring. To see what that gives me. Okay. I really think my best option here might be a patch. This is all trying to keep the point there. Unfortunately, patch doesn't allow me to keep a point. And this is going to fail. Yes, because it can't tell the directionality of what's going on. Okay. I'm going to try and extrude these two straight down. And do surface and curve network. Edge, curve, edge. But you can see the challenge is going to be, it's going to want to ripple right there at the bottom. Yeah, pulling that point is a challenge. And it will, I mean, it's there, but it's not very nice. I'm going to let go of that point by extracting an isocurve, looking to see where that rippling begins, stopping just shy of it. And you see me do this in other videos where I just trim off the offending end there. Mirror. But you can see I'm getting a pucker, a really unfortunate puckering. So that's not acceptable to me. So try patch once more. With these two smooth curves. And that gives me a fairly acceptable result. I don't care for that. So I'm going to go ahead and let this round. It really does save a lot of trouble. Much. But I will let it round some. Split it in the middle. And then re-extend this curve so it comes down and catches this new end. Explode, I only want the piece that I extended. Mirror. And do patch again. Curve, 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 curve. Patch is having a very difficult time solving this problem. It's unfortunate because it was a good idea. I'll see if I can trim it out. Join it in and see what I have. That's nice. That works fine. Okay, so there we go. A rather successful puffed heart and rhino.